Hey y'all, Joseph McBrayer here, talking about church cinematography and photography, and today I'm going to be talking about photography with a Canon EOS R, specifically with vintage lenses, and especially this one right here, the Helios 44-2, a swirly bokeh producing monster. So, let's get into it. Thanks for tuning in today, and go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the coming weeks. Now, I must admit, when I first saw people using vintage Russian lenses from the 1960s and 70s, I was a bit skeptical of the image quality that would come out of a lens like this. I mean, I've tried using several other vintage lenses that I found have not had great success with Canon photography. Now, for video, they've been okay, but for photography specifically, I found them lacking in the clarity and quality of the crispness of the image, as well as just the reliability of focusing and things. The swirly bokeh of the Helios lenses is something that I would see in my Instagram feed, but also is interesting to me from a photography or cinematography standpoint because they look pretty amazing. And so it felt like something I needed to check out a little more closely. The swirly bokeh of this lens really makes your photos stand out, and that's helpful on Instagram and social media, but also in video creation. This kind of effect helps your viewer to focus on the subject in frame and allows you as a creative photographer or cinematographer to more accurately draw your subject's attention to the point where you want them to be looking, which helps you better convey your story that you're trying to tell through still or video images. The Helios lenses themselves are pretty well made and plentiful, as they are made in Russian factories and therefore are relatively cheap on eBay for 30 or 40, 50 bucks. Pretty easy to find these. Now, after watching several great videos about exactly which type of Helios 44 to look at, I purchased one on eBay. And a pro tip here that I've heard from friends, if you're looking to buy a 44-2 Helios, the best way to do it sometimes is to buy the entire camera, the Zenith, that comes with the Helios 44. And you can also purchase the whole camera with case for much cheaper than buying just the lens. So that's a nice little hack for you. So I ordered the camera and lens combo from an estate sale, and when it arrived, the lens looked great. The glass was clear. Make sure you check that on anything you're buying. But I put it on my camera using a simple M42 screw mount adapter that goes to EF lenses. And you basically just put that on, and then you're able to put it straight onto your camera using this adapter. Now, admittedly, it looks a little bit strange with the adapter, but I took it outside in natural light after unboxing and took a few photos. And the results were actually quite impressive, even in low light with very little editing. You can see here in the picture a portrait of a ponytail palm on my back porch just after dusk. I shot this at f2, which is the lowest aperture setting on this lens, and gives you the best of the swirly bokeh effect. And the next day we left for vacation, and I decided to take only two lenses with me, a 35mm 1.4 and this lens. And I had a good time with them. Now, the Helios 44-2 is a 58mm lens, which is somewhere between the actual standard 50mm lens and a portrait lens that would be closer to the range of 70 or 80 or 100mm. It has a pretty low f-stop of f2.0, which allows you to create some very good subject separation from the background and the foreground. I find it to be relatively pretty sharp at f2, but also it gives you the most swirly bokeh at that setting. This image is of a sailboat, which is probably 150 to 200 feet away offshore where I'm standing, and there's rocks in the foreground that are probably about 3 or 4 feet away from me. And you can see there's some decent subject separation with the rocks being out of focus in the foreground, even with a sailboat that's so far away. Now, the place where this lens really shines is placing your subject in the very center image and then being able to use the minimum focal distance or just beyond that. The swirly bokeh effect is most visible when you have sort of dappled light coming through trees or plants behind the subject or in the foreground. In this image, you can see a small resurrection fern growing on a branch of a live oak tree. The fern was just above me, and so with the pre-sunset light of golden hour, which is the light just after sunrise or just before sunset, coming through those trees above, and it looks, just really nice. Now, when the subject is in the center of the frame, you can get the best results, I think, but also it works, as you see in the second picture, for the subject to be just off-center, depending on what you're after. So when you're shooting with an older manual lens on the Canon EOS R, sometimes it thinks that you don't have a lens on the camera. So you have to go into the menu settings, custom function 3, to allow the shutter to close even when it thinks there's no lens attached. That will allow you to take images on the EOS R with older lenses. can also go into the settings and turn on focus peaking, which is going to help you immensely to capture things using a manual lens on the EOS R. It's not perfect, but it can really help you get things dialed in and a little more accurate when you're trying to get focus and nail that. Looking through the viewfinder is much better, but you can also do it using the LCD screen in the back. And if you have an external monitor on it, then you can really get focus peaking on the monitor and get even more accurate results. So I've not yet shot much video with this lens, but the early results seem pretty promising, and it could be very helpful, even on the BlackMagic Pocket Cinema 6K, which is filming this video, and likely another video on this lens on that camera coming out later on. A great YouTuber who creates amazing content on the Pocket 4K using a variety of vintage lenses, including the Helios 44-4 and 44M4, 44-2, all of them, is a filmmaker named Roman Hentz. I'll link his channel down below, and you should definitely check it out. His cinematography and color grading are really excellent, and I find his work very inspiring for me personally and in my work as a cinematographer. Do yourself a favor, go ahead and subscribe to his channel and see how he's able to accomplish these wonderfully creative cinematography results with the Helios 44 and other lenses, just walking around with his family and doing day-to-day life type things, but it makes it look really, really nice. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe to the channel, like this video if you found it helpful, and we'll plan to see you in the next video. Peace.